So let me introduce myself to everyone. My name is Pavan Kumar, and I got nearly 6 years of experience with 3 plus nearly 4 years of experience as an online trainer on Selenium. And we are from QAtestingtraining.com, and we not only provide trainings on Selenium, we do have trainings on other subjects like manual testing, JMeter, QTP, and QC, load runner, etc. Okay, so this session is all about Selenium. So let me start with Selenium. So this seminar is all about you can involve in asking questions in between, like putting your questions on the chat and putting your hands up, so that if you want to speak out and ask a question, you can even go ahead and do that. Okay, so I would not go more into the history of Selenium, rather than I would like to explain you the real-time practical approach of how Selenium can be used. The reason is people would have even listened what Selenium is all about and all those things. Okay, so I will not even take more than 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to just explain why Selenium, what Selenium is all about. Okay, and if you have any questions in the chat, you can paste, or just put a hands up and you can ask the questions and I will answer your questions. Okay, let me start. So to give a brief history, what Selenium, why Selenium. So before that, why automation? As everyone knows, people go for automation. The reason is to reduce the human effort. In order to reduce the human effort, or to reduce the continuous testing of a particular module which was already implemented and new modules are getting implemented, and to make sure that the older modules or older functionalities are not getting affected because of this new implementation, people go for automation. And there are many tools in the world of automation which can be used for automation, like QTP, Sahi, Selenium, Sikuli, Renorex, etc. Why people are going for Selenium? Why people are so much addicted, or we can say many companies are preferring for Selenium? As everyone know, the first thing is Selenium is an open source tool. It's a purely open source tool, and you don't require to pay anything for any person for that, except the salaries for the company pays salaries for people who they employ for Selenium automation engineering. The second thing is Selenium supports multi-language. This is the first advantage that made Selenium more famous compared to any other open source tool available in the market, because it supports around 5 plus languages, where if I learned in my educational background, I am a .NET, I learned .NET and I know C#, I can go with C#. If I know Java, I can go with Java. If I know Python, I can go with Python. If I know Perl, I can go with Perl. Or something, whatever the language that it supports, we can use that language and we can automate our web applications. So just do remember that Selenium is a purely web-based functional automation tool. You cannot automate any Windows-based applications using this Selenium. Any doubts over here? If you have any questions, you can just put in the chat, or can put your hands up so that you can ask the question. So I have, so Annapurna has a question, like, is there any advantage of using a particular language? I do say that there is no advantage, Annapurna. Like, the reason there is no advantage is to people who wants to use their particular language, because my educational background is I did my project on Java, so I do not have any knowledge on .NET. So RunnerX, if you take RunnerX as a tool, I need to learn C# and then start implementing this RunnerX tool. So that some people feel that learning C# is another new headache and all those things. So there is no particular thing that there is an advantage with this particular language. You can go ahead and use any language you wish and you know. Got your answer, Annapurna? So Chandana's question, Selenium, is it mandatory? No, in Java intact. No, there is, people has a wrong assumption that they need to have very good knowledge on Java to learn Selenium. I totally disagree with this word. The reason is, I tell you that if you have very good understanding, at least not very good, like if you know what is a class, what is a method, what are data types, what are return types, what are conditional statements, and some other like 4 to 5, like what is extents and what is a list, around 10 concepts. If you have even general knowledge on that, learning Selenium is a matter of a small piece. It's a very small thing for you to learn Selenium. People are wrong assumption that you need to know very good knowledge of Java, then only you can learn Selenium and implement it. I totally disagree. Just to give a small intro, that when I started my career, I was a C# developer. I learned in my curriculum C#, but today I am implementing Selenium using Java. So it did not make me any difference to implement and learn Selenium, because I learned C# and I am implementing Java, because the core concept, the knowledge, the people whoever learns C language, there also you learn what are data types, what is a method, what is a class. The same thing you use, but a little difference. That's make the difference. So don't be in the assumption that you need to learn very good knowledge of Java. Even if you don't have Java, from our end, from our training institute, we will arrange 3 to 4 sessions, at least 3 sessions of Java, so that you can get refreshed some knowledge on Java. Okay. So Chandana. Okay. So Prabhakar has a question. Which language is used widely on Selenium testing tool and which have more openings? So I don't say that I am using Java, so Java has more openings. To be open, Prabhakar, sorry, I apologize you, Prabhakar, that Java has openings a lot compared to any other language, because Java again is an open source and there are many features which can be integrated with Java, like continuous integration tool like Jenkins and integration of this particular with GitHub, and all those things are very good when compared to any other languages. Prabhar, you got your answer from mine? Yes, thank you. Thanks for your questions. So let me go ahead with next question. So multi-language support. So this was the first advantage that made Selenium very famous in the world. The second advantage is multi-operating system. See, if you take any tool in the world of automation, there are no tool in the world of automation which can support more than 2 operating systems. If you take UTP, only Windows. If you take RunnerX, only Windows. If you take Sikuli, it supports Linux and Windows. So this is the only tool which supports Mac, Windows as well as Linux as well. So this was another advantage that made Selenium more famous in the world of automation. Another biggest advantage is multi-browser support. If you take any tool in the world of automation like QTP, RunnerX, they support Firefox and Internet Explorer. But if you take Selenium, it supports Firefox, Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari. Along with that, even it supports mobile testing as well. You can do Safari automation of iOS automation, as well as you can also do Android automation as well. So this is the another biggest advantage this Selenium team has implemented. Okay, so now, not to bore you, just another 5 minutes of introduction. That's to tell about what the different modules available in Selenium. So Selenium consists of 4 modules. Selenium IDE. So just want to show you, it's Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, Selenium Grid, and Selenium Webdriver. So small intro about all these 4 flavors. Selenium IDE is a pure record and playback tool. Selenium IDE is a pure record and playback tool, which is an add-on for Firefox. There is no add-on for IE or Chrome related to Selenium IDE. People who do not have any knowledge of automation and just want to see the flavor, what automation is all about, they can just go through record and playback of this IDE and can just see what this how automation works and all those things. And what is this RC? Selenium RC, Selenium Remote Control. Selenium Remote Control is another tool, another API available in Selenium, which is an older version. It is called 1.0 version, which was the first implementation done by Jason Huggins in ThoughtWorks, where he implemented using JavaScript for a particular application where he was doing a multiple regression of a particular application. So at that time, he felt to implement, extend it, and release it to the market, and they called it as Selenium RC. So now it is deprecated. That means it is no more used. The reason was it was purely developed using JavaScript, and it wasn't directly communicating with the browser. It was communicating with a server called Selenium RC server. Selenium RC server was then communicating with the browser's sandbox, JavaScript sandbox. Then it was trying to simulate the actions on the web application that was invoked. So this was the biggest disadvantage. So that's where the Selenium RC team has removed the Selenium RC and come up with a new API called WebDriver, which was implemented by a person called Simon Stewart. This person has implemented purely on object-oriented programming using HTTP protocol. So this had many advantages, like this can directly communicate with the browsers and perform the actions, and you don't require to perform like it has also provided some specific browser level implementations as well. Like if I am using Chrome, which may have some different features compared to FF or IE, so that can be using some native features of Chrome. That features can be invoked specific to Chrome or IE or Firefox as well. So along with this, they have also added a new feature called HTML unit driver. I think I have some questions. Okay, Prabhar has a question like, please repeat disadvantage of RC. Okay, so the question, like, so the first disadvantage. Okay, so let me give some more intro about this question, like disadvantages. So the first thing was Selenium RC. The first disadvantage was you required to invoke a server called Selenium RC server to run your scripts. Whatever the scripts that you have written for any browser, this particular server has to be invoked. This server, the scripts communicates with the server. Server communicates with the browser's sandbox, JavaScript sandbox. Every browser has a JavaScript sandbox. So the server communicates with this JavaScript sandbox, and JavaScript sandbox will perform the simulation of the actions of Selenium commands. So there is no direct communication. It's a three-way communication between, there is a broker called RC server that communicates with the browser and performs the actions. So what happens is, every time you want to invoke your browser, you need to communicate with this server. So there may be a latency, or there may be a communication gap between this browser and the server. At that time, the possibility of the scripts failing also would be high. Along with that, the disadvantages, as Prabhakar has asked more in depth, so I'm just getting in depth of the disadvantages, as this was purely developed using JavaScript and it wasn't used with object-oriented programming. So let me tell a small intro about object-oriented programming. Let me take example of a car. We have Audi, we have Maruti, we have BMW, we have Land Rover, Jaguar, etc. Everything is a car. The prototype is a car, but every car has 4 tires, a gearing system, an accelerator, and a horn system, and etc. But every car has its own advantages. The common features are tires, accelerator, gearing system, all these things. But every car has its own features, like some cars may have an AC, some cars may not have, some cars may have a power steering system, and some cars may not have a power steering system. So whatever the common features are there can be placed as a separate class, and the features which are not available can be maintained within that particular company class, like Audi class or Land Rover class or Maruti class, which are specific to that particular car. So whatever the common features can be repeatedly used of that all the cars. So with this Selenium RC, this was not happening. So if the JSON against has to implement some features of a particular application or a particular browser, he has to implement specific to that Firefox, specific to IE, specific to Chrome, specific to Safari. But if that way, if I am going on, the day by day, if you see 3 years ago, the Firefox version was 3.0, and the applications were developed using Java servlets. But at present, if you take, people are using HTML5, Ajax, Flex, GWT, etc. Every day a new technology is coming in. So it was becoming a very big problem for the Selenium RC team to implement these new technologies for every browser. So they have to implement a separate functionality for every browser, rather than having going with a common functionality and implementing for all the browsers. So this way, this particular RC API was becoming bigger and bigger, and it was becoming a very big problem for RC team or the Selenium team to handle it. So that's where this Selenium RC team has come up with a new API called Selenium Webdriver. Prabha, able to get me? Thank you. So the reason was, like, I reduced of explaining this history is, like, people get bored and feel that total seminar was all about history. So I don't want to make people bored with this. That's the reason I was very customized in telling you what history all about, because I want to show you the real time flavor, how Selenium works, how can we use Selenium, the real-time implementation. Okay, so then comes the WebDriver. So I was talking about WebDriver. This WebDriver was purely developed using object-oriented programming and follows HTTP protocol. And I was telling you that there was a new API implemented in WebDriver called HTML unit driver. What is this HTML unit driver? It is a browserless execution of test cases. You don't require, so I'm doing a pure functional testing and I'm nowhere specific with any browser. So this particular HTML unit driver will not invoke any browser, but internally it will start executing your test cases and provide you the results. So this was one new API added as part of WebDriver. Along with that, the another advantage that was added in WebDriver was remote invocation. I have the scripts in my computer. For example, if I am running my scripts in my computer, I cannot do any other work like doing another kind of testing in my computer, because once the scripts are running, I cannot open another browser and do all those things because it will affect your running scripts. So what I want to do is I will have the scripts in my computer and execute the browser in another machine. So there is a concept called remote WebDriver in Selenium which will do that. Just I need to give the IP address of the remote machine and invoke a server. It will start executing your scripts on a remote machine of a particular browser. The scripts are in my native machine and the browser will be invoked on a remote machine. That's how you can make sure that you can work on your system, and a remote machine is also, you can, in a remote machine this browser will be performing the action of running the scripts. Any doubts in Selenium WebDriver? Okay, let me go ahead. So the last one, Selenium Grid. So Selenium Grid is one of the powerful thing that made Selenium again famous. That was Selenium Grid, where I have around 1,000 test cases, and that takes around 10 hours of time. That means an average 1 hour, 100 test cases are running, and I have a continuous regression of my application, and the developers are giving me every day 2 builds. Every day I am getting 2 builds, and I want to check whether any other build is getting affected of the new build. The functionalities are affecting. So if 10 hours of time execution is happening, and I cannot wait for 10 hours to get a results. Before that I'm getting a new build. So what happens? I cannot see the real results of that particular application. So to overcome that, the Selenium Grid has come up with a feature called multi-browser execution or multi-threading. So I can invoke 10 browsers, 5 browsers of same kind, like 5 Firefox browsers at a time on my local machine or a remote machine or multiple remote machines, and can run my scripts. And this is multi-thread safe. For example, 1,000 test cases, each thread of Firefox browser, for example, 10 browsers I am invoking on 5 different machines. Each machine invoking 2 browsers at a time. So what happens is each browser will take around 100 test cases and start executing those test cases on their particular respective machines. Or else I want to invoke 5 browsers on my local machine itself and run those scripts. Yes, all the 5 browsers will be invoked at a time, and each browser will take a particular script and run. And this is thread safe. That means no browser will affect other browser execution. That means if browser 1 is just taking first test case, so browser 2 will never take the first test case again. It will take the next test case. So the only disadvantage is that your RAM memory should be very high. It should be 8 GB or 10 GB to invoke 5 browsers or something like that. If you take 2 or 3 browsers, even 4 GB of RAM is sufficient. But if you are taking 5 browsers at a time, 10 browsers at a time, then it takes a huge consumption of your RAM memory of your computer, and it would affect your script execution as well. So this is one big advantage of Selenium Grid. Any doubts? If you have any questions, you can just put in the chat or hands up so that I can go ahead and answer your questions. Or else I feel I can go ahead with the implementation part. I can start with the implementation part. What, like, starting with identification of web elements on different browsers. This would be more interesting, and you will understand the real flavor of what Selenium is all about. So shall I go ahead? Okay, so let me start showing you that. So I want to take one particular application called NRI passport application. So NRI passport application I'm just taking. So what I want to do is I want to automate this particular application and just submit this form for a new passport. Okay, so just see what am I doing. So I'm just taking this application and starting with Internet Explorer. Okay, so in Selenium, if I want to perform any action like automating any application, what is the first thing that we need to do? The first thing is we need to identify the particular application. First of all, I need to identify the elements on that particular application. It can be a text box, it can be a radio button, it can be a checkbox, it can be a button, it can be an image, it can be a drop down, it can be a select box, anything on a given web application which you want to automate and which can be automated using Selenium. In Selenium, we call them as web elements. Hope everyone is able to see my screen. Just do let me know if you are unable to see my screen over here. Okay. So in Selenium, any element on a given web application is treated as a web element. For example, here if I want to perform an action of entering my surname in this text box, I can treat this as text box as a web element. I want to check this checkbox, I can treat this as a checkbox as a web element. So in Selenium, every element can be treated as a web element. Okay, so to identify any particular element on a given web application in Selenium, we are provided with different approaches. So what are those approaches to identify an element? A checkbox, a radio button, a checkbox, a button, a drop down, a list box, anything on a particular web application in Selenium we can identify using these approaches. So different approaches to identify a particular web element on a particular web app is first ID, second name, third class name, fourth link text, fifth partial link text, sixth XPath, 7th CSS. So these are the different approaches. These are the different approaches available in the particular provided by Selenium in order to identify any element on a given web application. So the preference wise also goes in this way. First ID should be given the first preference, second name, third class name, fourth link text, fifth partial link text, sixth XPath, seventh CSS. So always give the preference in this way. So in order to identify any element using these approaches, we require some add-ons. We require some add-ons for every browser. So for IE, if you are trying to automate any application starting with IE, so IE is provided with an add-on called IE Developer Toolbar. IE Developer Toolbar is the add-on required for IE. For Firefox, we require Firebug and Firepath, two add-ons. For Chrome, we have an add-on called Firebug Lite and XPath add-on. So these are the different add-ons required for different browsers. Okay, so these are the different identification approaches, and these are the different add-ons required to identify any element for using for these approaches. Okay, so I want to start with Internet Explorer. Okay, so if you see here, I have taken this web application, and in the latest browsers, if you take IE9 or IE10 or IE11, you have a inbuilt IE developer toolbar. If you are using IE8, then you need to go to google.com and just type download IE developer toolbar, and it will directly take you back to the Microsoft website where you can download. See, download Internet Explorer IE Developer Toolbar official. So you can download it from here. Even if you have a pirated version of, I think I have a question, just give a minute. Sure, I will share this notepad. So in the chat. Okay, so just sent in the chat. You can hope everyone has got. Just if you don't get that, you can just message me. I'll let you know. Just check that I have sent you. These are the things required. Okay. I think someone has just messaged me. Just hope everyone has got it. The chat message. Cool. So next is, as I said, IE9, IE10 and IE11 has an inbuilt IE developer toolbar. People who are using Windows 8, the shortcut, in general, the shortcut to open IE developer toolbar is F12. F12, when you click on F12, you will get that shortcut. But the people who are using Windows 8, for you do not have any shortcut. The reason is, if you go for F12, there is some other option that is opening in Windows 8. So what you can go do is, you have a gear option in your browser, IE9 or IE10 or IE11. There, if you go there, you can see developer toolbars. In that, you see this particular IE developer toolbar. If you have Windows XP or Windows 7, simply click on IE develop F12, you will immediately get it. Or else you can go to View, Explorer bar, IE Developer Toolbar. View, Explorer bar, IE Developer Toolbar. There you can see this IE Developer Toolbar. Okay, so let me get it. So I have IE 8 in my system. So if you have IE 8 or IE 9 or IE 10 or IE 11, maximum the look and feel of IE Developer Toolbar looks like this. So you see, this is the IE Developer Toolbar. So let me start to show you the practical implementation. So as you learn, you will see the easiness of learning Selenium, because many people have a wrong assumption that I need to know Java to learn Selenium. That I am sure and confident enough within these 2 days of session, I can give you that confidence that you people will feel that I can learn Selenium for sure. Okay, so on your browsers, once you open IE Developer Toolbar, on the left top side of the IE Developer Toolbar, you have a pointer symbol. There is a pointer symbol. Click on it and immediately go to the element which you want to identify and click on it. Immediately, once again I am repeating, just click on the pointer, take that particular pointer to any element which you want to identify. Click on it. Immediately you will see that a blue color highlighted region on that particular element. For example, I am trying to identify the surname text box, and the surname text box is now in a blue color region. And immediately you see there is a attribute section in IE 9, IE 10 or IE 11. Any browser of IE, you will see a attribute section. There is a menu called styles, CSS and all those things. Try to click on attribute menu on the right side, the table you see. Click on attributes and you will see all the attributes defined for that particular text box. So what are these attributes? These are the attributes defined by the developer for this particular text box, or else you can also call properties. The properties defined by the developer of this web application for this particular text box. If you see, I have a class, I have an ID, max length, name, on blur, on click, on key, size, title, etc. So in our notepad, what we have written is the preference wise goes to ID, name, class name, link text. So for now, please forget about these 4 options. These 4 options will come in the later classes. Okay, so first we are going to learn first 3 options: ID, name, class name. So ID, name and class name. So just see, in this particular attribute section, I have a class, I have an ID and I have a name. So preference wise, as I said, I will take the ID as a first preference. So if you see, I have a value called yes name. I have a value called yes name. So I'm just putting in the notepad, just see. So the value that I have is yes name. So this yes name is a value provided for the attribute ID. I have taken that value. So the people who have IE9, IE10 or IE11, you have a search box on the right side. On the right side in the IE developer toolbar, where I am placing the cursor, there you can see a search box available. Place that value over there. For me, I don't have a search box. I have a find option. So I am going to place that value in that. So now once you place that value in the search box, place the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Place the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Guys, able to understand me? Able to follow me? Just do let me know yes in the chat, because this is a starting class and I don't want you to people get confused. Only 2 messages. So shall I go ahead? Okay, so let me go ahead with that. So now I am placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Why I am placing, I will let you know. Okay, I place the cursor at the starting HTML tag, and the people who have more than IE9 put the value in the search box. And for me, I am clicking on find element. Once I click on find element, I am getting a pop-up. I am now placing the value in that pop-up. Now, what was the value of which attribute it was? It was the value for ID attribute. I am selecting the ID attribute and clicking on find. Immediately you see a particular surname text box getting blinked, and it is getting highlighted with the blue color region. If you see, it is highlighted with the blue color region. That means the value yes name, this value yes name is identifying that particular surname text box. The people who has IE9 and above, click on place the value and click on enter button, or there is a next button available in that search box. Click on next. So immediately you should see a surname text box getting highlighted. Or else if you don't get, there will be a script tag. There will be a script tag getting highlighted in this particular region, HTML region. So, and in the attribute section, you will not see any attributes like ID, name, or anything. So ignore that particular tag and click again on next. So what am I doing is again clicking on next. You see, reach the end of the document without finding an element with those properties. That means this particular element surname text box is getting identified uniquely with this value yes name defined for the attribute ID. So the people who are getting a script tag getting identified for the first time, click on next again. The reason is that script tag will not have any attributes defined. There will be no attributes like this. So we can ignore that particular script tag. So whenever you are clicking on next, immediately you will see a script tag. You can ignore that. Then click on next. Immediately a input tag gets highlighted, and that input tag will provide you this particular attribute section, and this value is getting highlighted, or this particular text box is getting highlighted, which has value yes name with the attribute ID. This is not sufficient for us to say that this particular value is unique throughout this web page. The reason we place this cursor at the starting HTML tag is I want to check this value yes name defined for the attribute ID is unique throughout this web page. Throughout this web page, I have to have this value yes name unique for the attribute ID. So when I place the cursor at the starting HTML tag and clicked on find element, it identified first the surname text box highlighting with the blue color region. Once again, when I clicked on find next and find again, it says reach the end of the document without finding that element. That means this, after identifying this particular tag over here, there are more tags. There are many tags available over here. So after this particular tag, this value yes name is nowhere defined at all. So in any of these tags, this value yes name is not available. So I have many questions. So Chandana has a questions about other browsers. In other browsers, I will be telling. Okay, so there is a hand in other browsers. We are only at the IE browser. We are just learning IE browser. There is a hand up. So just let me see who was that. So it's Chandana. Okay, I am unmuting. So it was Annapurna, I think so. Yeah. Annapurna, you can go ahead with your question. Hello. So someone was putting a hands up. If you have a questions, once again I'm ready to explain. Go ahead. And I'll send you this notepad to your email address. Like you'll get all this whatever that I'm writing on the notepad to you, so that you can better understand it. Okay. So any questions? Yes, you can again put in the chat or just put the hand up and I can answer you. Chandana, how about the recordings? Yes, we provide you the recordings. Don't worry about the recordings. We will provide you the recordings of the classes. So yes, screenshots. So when you have the videos, I think videos will give you more picture than the screenshots. Agree with me? Because screenshots, after a while, if you see, you'll not even understand what that screenshot is all about. But if you listen to the video, yes, and even after the completion of the course, we from QAtestingtraining.com always give you the offline support during your project implementation, your current company, or you are learning something new in Selenium and want to know something. Yes, we are always available to help you. It can say one-time payment, lifetime support. This is what we can say from our end. Okay, so now, so I was able to identify this. I was able to identify this particular element uniquely. So let me go ahead with another text box. I want to identify given name text box. So I have taken this pointer, clicked on this pointer, place the cursor on the element which I want to identify. So when I clicked on that, immediately I got a particular tag highlighted in this particular region, and in attribute section I got all the attributes. As I said, the first preference goes to ID, and here the ID value is name. So I'll not go, I'll just get confused, so I'll not go with name, so I'll go with another one called previous name. The reason I'll tell you once, because if I go with that, people will be confused, so just will not go with that. So I'm taking previous name now. So the previous name, I have a value called PRV name, so I'm just pasting that here. ID value is PRV name. So I'm taking this value again, placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. Why am I placing? Let me tell you. I am placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. The reason is I want to check this value PRV name from the starting web page, from here to the end of the web page. Is there any element other than previous name text box which has the value PRV name defined? The reason is Selenium expects that any element identification should be unique. No two web elements you are identifying should have the same value of an ID, name, class name, XPath, or any identification that we are going to learn over here. So any web element that you are identifying on a web application using Selenium should be uniquely identified. That's the reason I am checking that this value PRV name is defined anywhere else other than previous name text box throughout web page. When I place the cursor at the starting HTML tag, you can see this total web page getting blinked. That means this HTML tag is identifying the total web page. So see here. So now I will place the value in the find element, the PRV name. I'm selecting ID, clicking on find next. Immediately you see a blue color region highlighted on the previous name text box, and you see a tag getting highlighted here and this value PRV name. So the people in IE9, IE10, IE11, you may get a script tag. A script tag can be ignored. Once again click on next and see whether you are getting this particular PRV name getting highlighted. So once you get that PRV name get highlighted, once again click on next and see whether any other element is getting identified with this PRV name value for other web element like other surname or qualification or any other text box or any other text as well. Okay, so now once again I will click on find text. So you see reached the end of the document without finding an element with those properties. That means after this particular input tag there are these many tags, but there was no tag which has this value ID equal to PRV name. So I can say that this PRV name text box can be uniquely identified using this ID with the value PRV name. Able to get me? Any doubts over here? Okay. So let me go ahead with the next. So I want to identify now profession text box. So if you see, I am trying to identify this profession text box. Here I have a class, ID and name, but assume that I don't have an ID defined by this developer. So what is the next preference I take? Can someone tell me from the attendees? Can someone tell me what is the next preference I take? One answer. So name is the second preference. So Prabhar, we will take the second preference as name. So it's name. Then comes the class name. Okay. So I am going to take ID. I am assuming that ID is not defined for that particular element. So I am going to take the name now. So I have a name defined with value called PROF. So I am taking this value PROF and putting it in the notepad first. Name equal to PROF. Okay. So now once again I'll place the cursor at the starting HTML tag, and placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag, going to find. In the find I'm putting the value. Now I need to select name as the attribute. So people with IE9 and above, you can simply put the value in the search box and click on next. Ignore the script tag. Ignore the script tag and verify again. So once again click on next. Immediately you see the blue color highlighted region on the profession text box, and you see this particular tag getting highlighted over here. So once again, can I say now this value is unique or not? Tell me, can I say now this value is unique or not? Can you put in the chat whether I can say the value is unique or not? No. Prabhar, no. Next. Yes. Next. Anyone want to answer? Yes or no? Any. Just give me the answer as yes or no. Yes, you have to click find and search. Next. Any more questions? Any answers more? Okay. So, yes, both of them are correct. See, we have checked only once, but I have some more tags available here. So I need to check whether this particular value PROF is defined anywhere else in this below tags as well. So once again, I will click on find the next. Or the people with IE9 and above, you can just click on next button or click on enter button, placing the cursor in the search box, and you will see whether it is coming or not. See, reach the end of the document. What is the default for script tag? Is it TR? No. Script tag will have the tag as script only. So the script tag will always have script. So did you get that? Script as a tag. Got it? Okay. So now I can say that this PRO value defined for the attribute name can identify that particular web element profession text box uniquely. Okay, so now I would like to take another web element called color of hair. So I'm taking color of hair. Here I am assuming I don't have an ID, I don't have a name. So what is the third preference goes to? Can someone tell me what is the third preference goes to? Okay, one answer. Next. Okay, so it goes to, third preference goes to class name. So I have a class defined. As I am assuming that ID is not there, name is not there, I am taking the class value. So I am taking this class value, again placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. So place the cursor at the starting HTML tag, clicking on find element, placing the value. Now I am selecting class. So the people with IE9 and above, you can put in the search box and click on next. Immediately you see, I was trying to identify color of hair, and you see, once again, just can see what is happening. Surname text box getting highlighted. Just see that it was blinking. So I was trying to identify full color of hair. It was identifying surname text box. Once again, I'm clicking on next. You see given name text box getting highlighted. Find next, previous name getting highlighted. So can I say that, can I use this value UPP? So class with value UPP to identify the color of hair text box. Can I identify color of hair text box to identify it uniquely for with UPP value defined for this particular class name attribute? I got one answer. So any more? Two answers. Next. Okay. So no, we cannot identify this particular any element which has a repeated value. So now Selenium will be confused. What element I should perform an action? For me as an automation engineer, I feel, yes, I need to perform the action of color of hair. But Selenium sees, oh my God, these many elements are getting identified. What element I should perform the action? So Selenium blindly performs the action on the first identified element. Selenium blindly performs the action on the first identified element. So can someone say which was the first identified element when I was using UPP? Perfect. The surname is the first element identified. So Selenium will perform the action immediately on the surname text box. For me it was IE, but it was for me it was a color of A, but it identified surname. Okay, so this is how you identify an element using ID, name, and class name. So small important thing you need to remember, that if an attribute has a value called ABC, attribute called ID equal to ABC, and for one web element, for another web element the same attribute has the value ABC, you cannot use that particular attribute to identify that particular element. Okay, you cannot use that particular element to identify that particular attribute. But remember that if I have an attribute ID equal to ABC, and for different web element with attribute equal to ABC, if I have in this way ID equal to ABC and for one web element, and another web element has a name attribute with value ABC, this is accepted. This is accepted. The reason is Selenium first looks for the attribute. Selenium first looks for the attribute, then looks for the value. If you see in this particular surname text box, this class also had the same value UPP, not the ID or the name. Always remember, two different attributes can have the same value, but the same attributes cannot have the same value. Able to get me? So as this is the demo session, I'm not giving the notes, but as the classes go on, I will provide you the notes and you can write down during the session itself if you want. And you can stop me, Pawan, can you give me small notes on this? Yes, I am ready to give you. Okay. So understood how well we can identify the elements on Internet Explorer using an ID, name and class name. Shall I go ahead with Firefox? Or if you want to post any questions or have a hands up and speak to me, yes, I can. I am ready to help you out. If you want to put a hands up and ask questions, yes, I am ready to answer your questions. Okay, so I am thinking I can go ahead with the next browser. Okay, so the next browser is Firefox. So I am going with the Firefox now. So I have a Firefox, and what I said, for Firefox we require two add-ons called Firebug and Firepath. At present we don't require Firepath, but we require Firebug at present. Okay, so just go to google.com and say download Firebug. Just type download Firebug and you'll get many options. Prefer always. I have a question. We want to find these unique attributes for every web element and every page. Yes, because if you want to perform any action on any element on any web page, you have to identify, right? Because you want to perform an action. Without identifying, you cannot perform an action. Because any manual test case, if you are trying to convert it to an automation test case, The first thing is identification of that particular element on the web page, which you are going to do using these approaches, with these approaches. Able to get me, Prabha? So don't take every option. Best you can go with add-ons for Firefox from Mozilla add-ons. Go over there, click on it, and you will add to Firefox option. Once you click on it, you will get an option called add to Firefox option. Once you click on it, see, you will get here download now, or after loading it will show you add to Firefox. The reason my computer has state version, hope everyone has an older version, latest version of browsers, you will not have any problem. About 23 or 24 you will get this option, you can click. But if you have an older version, at the bottom you are given with the compatible table. You can go with any of these versions. So any compatibility version, you can just click on that and it will take you to the older versions Firebug website, and you can download it from there. But I'm sure everyone will have a newer version. So once you install in your computer, you should see a bug symbol. Just close the old browser which you have installed, close that and open fresh one. So close that and open fresh one, and you should see this bug symbol on the top right side. If you click on F12, you will get this. But if it is Windows 8, you just need to click over there. Okay, how long is this class? Yes, it may take another 20 minutes, Chandana. Another 20 minutes. I would like to wrap up because I've just completed only IE, so I want to even wrap up on FF. And then just 20 minutes. Okay, so Windows XP, Windows 7, click on F12. Windows 8, just click on that bug symbol. So once you click on bug symbol, a small pop-up comes up at the bottom. So this is called Firebug. Okay. Here I want to take a website. Here I want to take a website called Deal for Loans. I want to take a website called Deal for Loans. So I want to identify this particular text box called full name text box. So take the pointer, which is similar to IE developer toolbar. Click on that pointer, place the cursor on the required element. So X on this. Immediately that element got highlighted. But here the one disadvantage is that you will not see any blue color region. You will never see any blue color region getting highlighted. If you want to see the blue color region in the Firebug, whatever the element got highlighted, whatever the tag got highlighted, when you mouse over on that particular full name or any element, text box or radio button, every element will get highlighted. That says that this particular tag is identifying that particular web element. This particular tag is identifying that particular element. Okay, so when you mouse over on that will be highlighted. Here in this particular Firebug, you will not see any attribute section similar to IE developer toolbar. You will not see any attribute section. Okay, so here within the tags, you can see the attributes defined: ID, type, tab index, on key down, style, height, name. Okay, so as I said, the first preference goes to ID. and ID I have a value called full name. So I'm once again placing it in the notepad. So if you see full name, this is the value. So and taking this value, copying this value, and as I said, here you don't have any search box. Here I don't have find like that. So similar to IE9, IE10 or IE11, I have a search box over here. So I'm placing, before placing the value, I need to place the cursor at the starting HTML tag. The reason is I want to check whether this value, a full name defined for the attribute ID, is defined only for full name text box or for any other text boxes. So I place the cursor at the starting HTML tag and place the value. Immediately I place it, immediately filtered many tags. It filtered these many tags before clicking on the next and identified one particular element. So how would I know which was that element? This was the particular tag that got identified. So when I mouse over on that, just mouse over on that, you will see the element which is getting highlighted. It's a full name text box. So this value, full name, is defined for this full name text box. So can I say that particular value is identifying this text box uniquely? Can I say this value name is identifying this full name text box uniquely? Yes or no? Nonsense. No. Okay. So yes, we cannot say because we have many tags defined below. We need to check whether this value is available anywhere else. So I'm just clicking on next. So it is not going out of the tag. If it is not going out of the tag, can I say that this particular value full name is identifying this particular full name text box uniquely? Yes, I can say this particular value is identifying it uniquely. So this is how you use Firebug. Always remember the Firebug should highlight HTML tab, not on console, not on CSS, not on DOM. Always remember it should highlight HTML tab. Then only you can see all these things, HTML source code over there. Okay, so now I want to identify email text box. So when I clicked on it, this particular blue color region is highlighting this particular tag. So I'm taking this value again, placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag, placing the value in the search box. Immediately a tag got highlighted. So when I mouse over, it is highlighting email text box. So I cannot say that this is unique because I need to check again. So clicking on next. So when I clicked on next, it is moving within this particular tag. So I can say that this value email underscore ID is uniquely identifying the email ID text box. Any doubts over here? So if you don't have any doubts, tomorrow at the same time, I will be continuing with the session on next items. I will show you Chrome, then after that I will into XPaths. How to identify an element with XPath, why should we go for XPaths, then about this link text and partial link text, this cannot be explained uh, in general. This has to be explained programmatically. That is when we write the scripts, you will understand this more. So any questions related to our training or training institute, you can just post your questions now itself. Tomorrow again we have a demo session. It's not mandatory that you have to post your questions now only. If you want, you can post your questions now only. So Chandana has a couple of questions. If you, yes, go ahead, Chandana. And everyone, you can put your questions in the chat or put your hands up. I can unmute you and you can ask me questions. So fee details, timings, please email us. We will respond to you, and we'll surely respond to you regarding the timings, because you decide your timings, because all the people who have joined today, we don't want all the 10, 12, 15 members who are joining the class to be part of a single batch, because we do understand your pain, how you feel that people will feel that inconvenient as well to question I ask the questions. If you want to have like